to Dreams, Passion and Your Hong Kong Story, where every time we bring before you inspirational stories of amazing people from this magnificent land, Hong Kong. Today we have with us a very successful business magnate, someone whose life is extremely inspirational to many youth all over the world, someone who's highly regarded for his business acumen, and someone who's very regarded in Hong Kong for all his philanthropic efforts and also for being one of the biggest benefactor of City University of Hong Kong. Let's meet Harinder Pal Banga, more popularly known as Harry Banga. Hello Harry and welcome to our show.
Hi, nice to meet you. Pleasure having you here.
So Harry came to Hong Kong 36 years ago as a shipping professional from India. In Hong Kong, he took his first leap of entrepreneurship and co-founded Nobel Group, which actually ended up becoming a multi-billion-dollar company. In 2012, Harry founded his own company with the US $800 million investment, Caravel Group. Today, Caravel Group is a global conglomerate that deals with maritime services, commodity trading, and investment management services. Harry is very known in Hong Kong for many philanthropic ventures. He runs his Caravel Foundation, which takes care of the needs of the underprivileged children of China and Hong Kong. And he's also a very big benefactor of City University. Recently, City University conferred upon him the honor of honorary doctorate. Let's talk to Harry and find out what role has Hong Kong played in his life. So Harry, tell us, when did you come to Hong Kong?
I moved in here in December 1984 from London, and the family joined in March 85. We were in London for about 4.5 years. Before that, we were in Hong Kong. So the journey actually started, Hong Kong journey started in 1980 and came here within 6 months, moved to London, stayed 4.5 years there, got transferred back to Hong Kong. So in 84 onwards, Hong Kong has been a home for us.
So tell us a little bit about your early journey. I understand you're from India, you grew up there, and you joined Merchant Navy. How did that start, and what exactly brought you to Hong Kong?
I think where I grew up in Chandigarh and did my schooling in Shimla and then Chandigarh, basically my dad was in the government services. Chandigarh was the capital of Haryana and Punjab those days. So very much landlocked, had never seen sea. Started my schooling there, joined Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh, and one fine day I met through some family friends, a gentleman who was in Merchant Navy. We didn't even know what Merchant Navy was all about. And when you were 16, very fascinating stories, want to be around the world, decided to leave and try and get into Merchant Navy. And those days, like NDA, Dufferin was the institute to get in. It was like getting into NDA, IIT. Dufferin was one of those tough things. But journey started there. Then I joined, became the youngest captain ever in the history at the age of 27.
Wow.
Yeah, normally you get 34, 35 by the time you become a captain. So at 28, I moved back to London, where I was given a show job, and that's where the journey started.
Wow. So then what brought you to Hong Kong, and what made you take the leap of entrepreneurship?
I was working for the Gulf International, a multinational at that time, in commodities and shipping. I mean, the best reference of Gulf International was the Gulf International owned BCCI, Lender Tevis, Christian Dior. These were the companies which was owned by them. And my chairman at that time said that, listen guys, London is no more, the future is going to be Asia. So why don't you guys move from here to Hong Kong and start looking at China. So I came here in 84, started looking at China as the future of commodities and shipping. And in 88, my chairman asked me to come back to Geneva, our global head office. And I was so fond of Hong Kong and I didn't want to leave.
Wow.
But anyway, he said, listen, you're done your tenure in the region now. I need you in the corporate global head offices. So I didn't want to stay there, resigned, and know what to do. Either I go back and take a job or I start something on my own. And my partner in Noble at that time, Richard Ullman, he had just resigned from another bigger company called Philip Brothers. So both of us had no money that time. And we said, okay, let's try our luck and try and do something more entrepreneurial. If we were being so successful for the multinational we have been working for, I'm sure we can do something on our own. And if not successful, we'll always get a job back again. I think so. Indra, my wife, was one of the person who really pushed me. Why don't you go and make a try?
Yeah.
If you're unsuccessful, you can always go back. And you were young at that age.
Right.
You could take little risk. And that was it. And then '89, we started Noble Group. And which time was about 6 of us in a room like that. We were all sitting and became Asia's largest, biggest commodity trading house with a market cap of about $20 billion.
Wow.
China was just opening up. India had just finished the licensed Raj.
Right.
Asia was just growing up. And we happened to be at the right place at the right time. And we had a global footprint and experience. And China was just opening, India was opening, Southeast Asia was opening. The demand of commodities and shipping was just such a huge thing. And I think with that huge river flowing, and like they say, in rising tides, all boats rise.
Yes.
And so we were one of those boats.
So when you decided to become an entrepreneur, since you were a corporate professional and a very successful corporate professional, did that bother you? Did that somewhere scare you? How ready were you to take the risk of failure?
I think I was ready to take the risk.
Okay.
Because I was taking a risk for someone else. The work was the same, the job was the same, but I was doing it on behalf of a very large company.
Okay.
So the company was taking the risk, but I was the risk taker.
Right.
So then I realized in the company very soon I'm going to reach to a glass ceiling. I wouldn't be able to go ahead that. I wouldn't be able to pierce a glass where you could be the chairman one day and be the owner. So I thought that take a risk today. You're young, and if it doesn't work, like I said, you'll always come back to the corporate world.
Yes.
Yep, but it was tough in the beginning. The same banks who were prepared to do anything for you, they were very reluctant to open even smaller letter of credits at that time.
Right.
So
that brings me to my other question. So you have actually built and run 2 really successful conglomerates. So what were some of the challenges that you faced back then and you still face now, like when you begin your business?
the second time when I started Caravel Group, I guess it was a little more difficult to take that decision.
Okay.
Because first time you didn't have anything, there was nothing to lose.
Right.
And the second time when you were plonking $1 billion to start somewhere completely fresh again, not fresh, but you were starting something different. So the risk was very different. All that you had done all your lifetime, you're putting that at risk, your name at risk. In the beginning when we started Noble, nobody knew us, there was no balance sheet, there was nothing to take a risk. Okay. Worst come to us, if things didn't work, I would have gone back, taken a job somewhere else, and perhaps by now retired somewhere.
So you started like 2 conglomerates here, grew them really big out of Hong Kong. How was Hong Kong a base for your professional journey? And then you also made it so big. So how was Hong Kong a good base for you to expand your business?
I think Hong Kong perhaps was the only base which 30 years ago which could provide the freedom to do what you wanted to do. I think this is one of the city, there's no racialism. The ethnicity is not really a bother there. Hong Kong is created by, like what you would say, the people who left China. They were migrants, and migrants normally move with nothing in their pocket.
Right.
So they're very hard-working people, and that's where Hong Kong was built. And I think even today you see the hard work is very much in the core blood of Hong Kong today.
Right.
So whilst we were working here, the freedom was given here, the legal system was there, the financial center was here, the talent was available, and the language was English very much spoken. And yet it was the door and window to China.
Okay.
So it was a perfect opportunity whilst you were sitting in a global city, and China, which was in your backyard, was just opening up. And like I said earlier, whole Asia was opening up, Philippines was opening up, Indonesia was, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, whole place
So
was just
everything was easy to manage sitting
absolutely.
in Hong Kong.
And on the other side, India was just opening up at the same time.
Okay. So you could take advantage of the Indian
All
market
this
as
one.
well.
While Europe was shrinking, the US was shrinking, the UK was shrinking, all these economies going through a bad phase.
Right.
This was where 2.5 billion people were suddenly on the move.
Wow. You have been moving Caravel, like really growing it big. Where do you see it growing in the next 10 years? Where do you
I think the next 10 years, not only with Caravel, with the evolution of technology,
Okay.
which are now the biggest business disruptors sort of a thing, very difficult to call what 10 years will be today.
Right.
10 years from our 600 ships, the fleet of large ships, may not have any crew on board. We may have autonomous ships. So are we preparing for that? Sure. But are we at the same time not grooming our talent? No. So now we are hiding two horses, so to say,
Right.
while grooming our talent for tomorrow, which a captain today will be in 20 years that captain, but we are still hiring them, training them, educating them. But maybe in 20 years' time, the ships will be all autonomous. You would not need them.
Right.
Like 10 years from today, I will see the driverless cars, which is already happening.
Right.
So I think it's very difficult. Whoever is going to be successful in the next 10 years, technology and data is going to be a very important role there.
So I see Caravel also into commodity trading. I see you also into investment management. So how do you differentiate Caravel as a brand from other shipping conglomerates?
Commodities, let's come back to that. Whatever happened in the world, whichever way the technology moves, the commodities will keep moving. People have to eat. The maize will move, the soybean oil will be produced, iron ore will be moved, coal will be produced to power. So the commodities will remain as a core part of the global trade.
Okay.
The trade flow may change, but the commodities will not change.
Okay.
You cannot make steel with the technology. You need raw material. You cannot produce power without coal, oil, gas. So one thing is sure, in the next 10 years, the 20 years, the 50 years, commodities will remain in place. As people become more healthier and wealthier, they eat better. So their protein habits will change, their eating habits will change. So the agri-products will keep moving right across from the haves to have-nots sort of thing. If you look at the world, the northern hemisphere has always been a consumer. The southern hemisphere has always been a producer.
Very interesting. I never noticed that.
All the trade flows for commodities is from southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere.
Oh.
Industrialized countries all northern, nothing much in southern. But the biggest producer of commodities, agri-products, all south, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, Australia,
Correct.
South
Yes.
Africa. And that trade will continue that way.
Okay.
Where do Caravel play a role with that one? So what we have, which a very few shipping companies have, because we have both the shipping side of the trade and the commodity side of the trade. We're not only a ship owner who has a ship and somebody else's cargo is moving. And we don't have only the cargo and somebody else's ships are moving on that. We have a combination of both, where we have a successful story that we have created both very strong arms, and the left and right just works very together.
Wow, how interesting. Tell us a little bit about your Caravel Foundation. I know through the foundation you're doing great work for the underprivileged children. How did the whole idea come up? And
the idea one day, so the family was sitting that, listen, God has given a lot, now it's time has come that we start giving something back to society. So we discussed and sat that what we should be doing. We just can't do everything to the whole world.
Right.
So the focus was education. And I think it was discussed to a fisherman, don't give a fish, teach him to fish. So he'll always be a successful fisherman. So the education was the one very important part of it. So based on that, the foundation was created. And today, Indra, my wife, and my daughter-in-law, Dana, they're mainly running the thing. There are three main aspects of that. One, we are now providing a scholarship in the three universities where my two sons and my daughter-in-law came in. My elder one was in Princeton, so there's a scholarship in Princeton. There's a scholarship in Dartmouth, where Angad came from, and Duke, where Dana came from. So these three, the first challenge is they have to be an Indian, ethnic Indian, coming from India, poor people who can't afford education.
I see.
The second one, if they can't find the right candidate, has to be from Hong Kong and China, a local person who can't afford that one. So that's one of the big ones. Then we run a blind institute in India. There we are very deeply involved in that. And we have also involvement in Calcutta. Basically, it's education and for the children. And now we're going into health.
I see. So you're also very involved with City University of Hong Kong, and
Yes.
recently you got the honorary doctorate from them. Can you tell us a little bit
It's
more
again
about
part of the same thing as an education. What can you give back of the same thing?
Yes.
And here, CTU, because long back I was invited to be one of their committees, and from there the association grew up much more. And as I spent more time with them, and then we donated a library to them 2 years ago. That's Harry and Indra's library. And the first exhibition, they were holding it last year, Leonardo da Vinci. So that was the first one. And now because of COVID-19, that has been shut, but there's a lot in plan for the next 2 years, which Indra, my wife, she manages that, she runs that. I'm deeply involved in the Sikh temple here.
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah,
the
so
Gurdwara, right?
Gurdwara, if you see, we have demolished the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, building a new one.
I saw there's a lot of construction. We can't see it from outside.
It's going to be completely new building when it comes up ready next year. So I'm very deeply involved in that, getting the designs, getting the architects, getting the finances.
Wow, the ethnic Indian community here will always be grateful for you for that.
So that's one very big thing which we are doing. So these are two very big things which we are doing. Then in Chandigarh we have a very large dispensary, which is free to everyone, and we have pretty extensive equipment, testing, from dentist chairs to eyesights to, you know.
So much work you do both for Hong Kong and for India. No wonder in the Indian government awarded you the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award, which is like the highest award they give to a non-resident Indian.
That's right.
For all your service to Indian
basically,
community.
if you read that, it's written there.
Yes.
It's written about how you promote the honor of India outside India and what you create for the business, things like that.
So Harry, you have achieved a lot in your life. I mean, you had a very successful early start as a professional, a great entrepreneurial journey, and now a great philanthropic journey. So what's next for you? Like you are someone who always likes to keep reinventing and keep trying out new things. So what's next for Harry?
I think the next challenge is going to be handing over the baton, you know.
Okay.
This is, you know, this has always been your baby. You created it from nothing. And you're always scared to hand over a baby to someone else.
Yes.
So now for me, handing over to the children, will they be ready to take over? Will they have... 80% of the people sitting outside here have been working with me for 20 years and beyond. My PA has been with me for 33 years.
Wow.
Some of the MDs have been with me for 25 years. Now, when they had that kind of a loyalty when we worked together, the challenge is when the younger generation come, how will they get their loyalty? How will they create their management team, etc.? Yes. Individually, you can't be successful on its own. You got to create a management team. You got to have a proper, like any successful family. Correct. The corporates have got to be like a family where you respect, love each other, work together, hate together. Everything has to be one.
Yes.
So I think that's the challenge which they are going to have as the transition take place. And for me, the biggest challenge is how to hand over the baton. And how be behind the scenes and hold the hands and let them know that we are not doing anything, you're doing it.
Awesome. So are you ready for a rapid fire question round?
Absolutely.
That's getting to know Harry's Hong Kong story in a bit more fun way. So your favorite way to hang out in Hong Kong with your friends and family?
Wow, that's a good one. Weekend I love to spend with family and friends on our yacht. We go out cruising, forget the hub of Hong Kong, we're quiet, have a few drinks, take a dip in the water, go on the beach side, you know, that's a big fun.
And your favorite restaurants, casual and formal, in Hong Kong?
Oh, that's a thing. Formal one, my favorite would be Nicolini's in the Conrad.
Okay.
And Hong Kong Club is again my very, very favorite. So casual one, depending what kind of a food you're having it. For the Chinese, I would say it would be Ye Shanghai. For the Japanese would be Matsubishi.
Okay.
And for Indian, maybe one of the two Indian restaurants here. So it depends what kind of a food you're... But McDonald's is not the favorite one.
Okay. All right. If you were not into shipping, what field would you have been in?
Goodness. I left engineering to be in shipping.
Okay.
So I guess if I hadn't left engineering, I would be an engineer somewhere.
Okay.
But otherwise, I think it's a very hypothetical question.
Yes.
All my life, and when I was 16, I went to shipping. Commodities and shipping is now part of me, and I'm part of them.
Your hobby to do?
Hobby's always been
time.
work, work, and more work. And honestly, I don't have any hobby. I don't play golf. I don't play bridge.
Okay.
And I think creating what I've done in the last 40 years is work. I just love work.
Okay. And life in Hong Kong is fun as an ethnic Indian because
I think you have more freedom in Hong Kong as from the ethnicity point of view than any other city in the world. We have never had a problem in the last 100 years, anything to do with religion, caste, or creed, or color. This is such a cosmopolitan city. 2% of the whole population is expat.
Okay.
98 is local. And yet the expats have a better way of life here than the locals.
wow.
It's the only city in the world you will see the reverse.
Okay. Last time you did something for the first time in Hong Kong.
Last time I did something for the first time in Hong Kong. I think all that is going on because of COVID-19. I've never done that. Nobody has ever done it.
Yes, yes.
So I think as COVID-19 has just given us so many first times that you could never even plan, you never even read anywhere, is something like that happen, what are you going to do? So it was a massive learning curve. I guess not only in Hong Kong, globally everybody's gone through this phase.
Okay. And 3 words that describes your Hong Kong life.
Hard work, play, and enjoy.
Okay. What are you most proud of as a Hong Konger?
As a Hong Konger, I am a Hong Konger, and I'm so proud of it. It's just an amazing city to live in, amazing what it has to offer, and what you can offer in return is the concrete jungle around here, yet there are beautiful trails within 5 minutes. You wouldn't even know that happens here.
What would you advise the global business leaders? Why should they engage with Hong Kong?
I guess Hong Kong will be, or always will be, a gateway to China, irrespective to what rhetoric we are listening it today, what the geopolitical situations are. Hong Kong is a part of China. You cannot ignore China today. Not possible. Where China will be 20 years' time, Hong Kong will automatically have a rightful place in China at that time. So if you ignore Hong Kong, you're ignoring China, which is not going to be possible for any global leader.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Harry, for coming to our show.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, stay tuned as we bring before you yet another fascinating story from this wonderful land, Hong Kong.